All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring how one of Europe's most iconic cities is literally fighting to protect its soul. You see, the Berlin strategy we're looking at today is so much more than just your standard municipal document. It's really a guiding principle for a society that has learned to shape change for the common good. We're going to look closely at how Berlin plans to navigate its explosive growth. Because by 2030, Berlin aims to not just be a city in flux, but a true shop window for the world, proving that a major capital can be green, mobile, and absolutely socially responsible. So we really have to start by asking a massive question about urban survival. Who actually owns the future of the city? We're living in an era where the commodification of the cool constantly threatens to displace the very people who make a city vibrant in the first place. In so many cities globally, culture and counterculture, they're just treated as window dressing. But in Berlin, they are recognized as a core part of the city's infrastructure. So, as the city modernizes, it's facing this intense pressure. Will it just succumb to global finance capital? Or is it going to fiercely defend the public interest? And this quote right here perfectly frames the immense tension Berlin is dealing with today. It's all about protecting its avant-garde, countercultural spaces from being swallowed whole by pure profit and austerity. Those spaces left over from its divided past, they aren't just empty lots. They're the absolute heart of the city's creative resilience. The idea that these remnants need to serve the future we is literally the most essential battle modern Berlin is fighting. To wrap our heads around how they plan to do this, we're going to quickly unpack the 6 pillars of the strategy, starting with the right to the city, moving through the 2030 blueprint, growing together, neighborhood diversity, mobility, and finally, making sure it stays a home for everyone. Let's move right into Section 2, the Berlin 2030 strategy, focusing on shaping change for the common good. Okay, so here is the major paradigm shift. Berlin is completely rejecting the standard everyday model of urban gentrification. Instead, the strategy outlines that Berlin remains a metropolis with enormous untapped land potential, and that potential must be used not for private gain, but strictly in the public interest. It's a total pivot from how most major global cities operate today. Now, looking at this wheel of 8 strategies, you can see how deeply interconnected the whole thing is. It ranges from laying the groundwork for a climate-friendly metropolis to unleashing economic strength through creativity. And notice how you can't really reinforce neighborhood diversity without also safeguarding employment, right? You can't improve accessibility without also growing the city's green spaces. It's a completely holistic approach to urban survival. And this commitment to the vision? As we engineer this new era, it's literally treated as a national obligation. It's a profound political duty anchored by leaders like Michael Mueller and Andreas Geisel, who are ensuring that growth remains socially inclusive. In the spirit of Michael Mueller's vision, shaping a growing city is a task that requires every single force in society to pitch in. It's their duty to make sure development serves the folks living there today and the generations coming up next. All right, moving on to Section 3, growing the city together by harnessing space. Let's look at the hard data. Over 4.4 million. That is a massive number of people living in the greater Berlin-Brandenburg metropolitan region, sharing nearly 4,000 square kilometers. When you're dealing with a booming population of that size, you simply can't leave housing and transportation purely up to free market developers. If you do, you risk massive, unstoppable displacement. If we look back at the 2 decades right after reunification, you can see this breakdown of how land was developed. A full 43% went straight to residential housing, which makes total sense. But the huge challenge heading toward 2030 is figuring out how to maintain that focus on affordable residential construction without cannibalizing the green spaces and those creative hubs that make Berlin, well, Berlin. And what's super interesting here is how the city is geographically pinpointing 10 specific transformation areas for future smart, green, and mobile development. These red zones on the map, from City West over to Spandau and Berlin Mitte, these are the absolute priority hubs. By intelligently focusing public funding and development in these specific pockets, the city can stimulate real growth without tearing down the existing urban fabric everywhere else. Let's slide into Section 4. Reinforcing neighborhood diversity, which is all about protecting the famous Berlin mix. So, unlike a lot of other European cities, Berlin operates on this core belief that its legendary Berlin mix has to be actively defended. They're doing this through protected market segments and real community participation. The city firmly rejects the idea that displacement is just an inevitable side effect of growth. By keeping a socially hybrid structure, prioritizing affordable rents, and bringing residents directly to the decision-making table, Berlin is fighting tooth and nail to keep its soul intact. And in real life, that delicate balance looks exactly like this. You've got high-density urban growth coexisting right alongside these essential green spaces. Notice the elevated train line and construction cranes in the background signaling all that growth. But right in the foreground, you have people, families, open spaces where diverse communities actually hang out and interact. This is the visual proof of that socially hybrid city structure the 2030 strategy demands. Next up is Section 5, Mobility and Smart Knowledge, envisioning a truly green, connected metropolis. Now, this gets into the weeds a bit, but it's totally vital. By tracking metrics like soil sealing, which is basically measuring how much of the city's surface is paved over with concrete or asphalt, Berlin ensures that its densification is tempered by a sense of proportion. Right now, about a third of the city is sealed. Tracking this prevents the city from just paving over everything, leaving actual room for nature to breathe. Get this, nearly half, 44% of Berlin's entire surface area remains dedicated to woods, farmland, water, and parks. Think about that for a major global capital. It's incredible. But preserving it requires active spatial management. The city has to ensure these open spaces are upgraded for recreation and continue to act as crucial compensation areas to fight the effects of climate change. And these concrete steps are Berlin's roadmap to becoming completely climate neutral by 2050. We're talking about massive investments to expand public transport capacity, aggressively pushing eco-mobility like bikes and pedestrian traffic, and genuinely transitioning away from fossil fuels. The endgame here is a city of short distances, where sustainable mobility isn't a chore, it's just the easiest, most obvious choice for everyone. Okay, bringing it all together in Section 6, a home for everyone, becoming the shop window for the world. Now, a huge concept here is spatial agency. It's this powerful principle that a community, not just free market forces, has the ultimate power and duty to shape how urban space is used. Drawing inspiration from global movements fighting displacement, Berlin is exercising its spatial agency to make sure development actually benefits the citizens, not just the developers. When a city claims spatial agency, it's loudly saying, we decide what our neighborhoods look like, not just the highest bidder. So, the crucial takeaway here is that by treating urban planning as a cooperative, ongoing dialogue rather than a top-down corporate mandate, Berlin aims to be a global benchmark for inclusive growth. They want to be a shop window for the world. As we engineer this new era, shaping change is viewed as a national obligation to maintain a caring, inclusive city. As the 2030s approach, the entire world is going to be watching this shop window to see if the right to the city can actually be won. The ultimate goal, moving forward with this vision, is ensuring that the Berlin of 2030 remains, above all, a home for everyone. It's a massive, massive challenge, balancing global capital with real local community needs. But as we've seen in this explainer, Berlin actually has the blueprint to pull it off. So what do you think? Can a booming modern metropolis truly prioritize its people over profit? I think that's something for all of us to seriously consider.